Welcome to the Sports Betting Preview Show, a pregame.com podcast. This is Marco D'Angelo, along with my partner in crime, Vegas Runner. We're going to preview Thursday, Thanksgiving Day turkey action. While everybody will be stuffing their faces with turkey, we're going to hopefully be stuffing our pockets with some cash. What a great day. Love, it's a football tradition.
Dude, the turkey. 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And let's not forget Monday night. There's a little game this week on Monday night that might be a little bit interesting.
Settle some issues there.
But we're going to preview for Thursday, Oakland, Dallas. VR, you're the numbers guy. Tell us what it's at.
All right. It opened Dallas as a 14-point home favorite with an over-under 40.5. As of this morning, Dallas is 13.5, and the total's 40. So a little money coming in on the dog and a little bit on the under, which is surprising because it's a low total, 40. I mean, it is Oakland, who's not the juggernaut offensively, but 40 is not too high of a total for a Dallas game.
Well, I think a lot of people are overreacting to the last 2 weeks. I mean, Dallas has scored 7 points.
That's what it is. That's
2
what
weeks
it is.
in a row.
That's what it is. But they're still the 14th highest scoring team in the NFL. So, I mean, even as dismal as the offense has been the last 2 weeks, which has really, been factored into that average, they're still above average scoring team.
Absolutely. And I'm going to just go on record as saying one thing about the Thanksgiving days. There's a lot of talk about the tradition that, Detroit and Dallas always have, Thanksgiving. No other teams get to have those, home games. That's all fine and dandy, and that's great. What really bugs me is with the NFL and the scheduling, why does Dallas and Detroit both have home games the week before? It's a huge advantage. You're playing at home. It's an advantage to start on a short week.
Sure.
Because the other team has to travel to you. Now you give that team that you were home the week before, it's an even bigger advantage.
Yeah, absolutely.
They should put Dallas and Detroit the week before Thanksgiving. They should have to play on the road if they're going to have the luxury of that Thursday home game every year.
Yeah, that makes sense. That
just doesn't seem fair to me. But looking at this game, breaking it down, that's what people are watching for. They want to know what we're talking about. First thing that we got to say, Oakland, big game last week. At home, they upset Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And to me, going into that game, that didn't surprise. Now, it surprised me that they pulled the upset.
Yeah, but Cincinnati was in the letdown spot if they ever were going to be in one.
That game last week for Cincinnati was the biggest flat spot you could possibly have. When they beat Pittsburgh the week before, and having already beat Pittsburgh earlier in the year, it gave them virtually the division.
Yeah.
Because now they've got the tiebreakers with the Steelers, and we're over the halfway point, and they got virtually a 2-game lead where the Steelers, to surpass them, basically have to make up 3 games.
It's tough, too tough. I don't think there's enough time.
There's not enough time. And, that's a game we'll talk about later in the podcast is, the Steelers have some problems. And, Ben got nicked up last week. But Cincinnati, bad spot for them. Oakland took advantage of it. They won the game. Can they pull off back-to-back upsets?
Well, this team's won 2 of the last 5 games. I mean, so they're 2-3 straight up the last 5. So for them, that's an accomplishment to be at 3-7 right now. More importantly, they're 5-5 against the spread. That's as good as Dallas is against the spread. So you have made no more money back in Dallas than you have Oakland. I was a little surprised at how high they brought the number out because how bad Dallas looked last week and how good Oakland looked. Obviously, they're not going to give Oakland the credit for the win, and like we just said, it was a letdown on the Cincinnati side. But I went back to see what line did they put out on them future lines that they put out over the summer. Obviously, you can't bet it when the season begins, but prior to the season, when Dallas was touted as one of the better teams in the NFC, and no one thought Oakland was going to be that good anyway.
Yeah.
And the line was Dallas 8.5. And now we're looking at 13.5, almost 5-6 points higher. So that surprised me a little bit, especially with Dallas not scoring lately. When you look at this Oakland team, I mean, they beat Philly and they beat Cincinnati, 2 tough teams, but that was at home. And, I mean, as much as people say it's tougher to fly from the West Coast to the East Coast, traveling's traveling, man, any way you cut it. And East Coast teams going west have just as much trouble, I think, as the other way around. More importantly, Dallas should have lost that game to Washington. Washington missed 2 field goals in that game. And Dallas, I mean, they rushed for 150 yards, but they only passed for 150 as well. So, the offense definitely has to get it going if they're going to cover this kind of number. When you look at Oakland, they're as bad offensively as it comes. I mean, they're ranked 32nd in 3 of the 4 categories. Total offense, scoring offense, passing. They're the bottom of the barrel. But when you look at Dallas, defensively, they're not that great this year. They're using that bend and don't break stuff where they're only, 5th in the NFL in points allowed, but they're 20th against the pass. So I think Gradkowski gave a jolt to this Oakland team. Jamarcus Russell, thank God they benched the guy. Yeah. I mean, when you have 2 touchdowns and 9 interceptions and you're the draft pick, the franchise quarterback, right, you can't keep giving the guy a chance.
Well, that was going to be my next question to you, and you touched on it. The quarterback change last week. How much of an effect do you think that's going to have? Normally, when you have a quarterback change, the biggest difference, the adjustment-wise, comes in week 2, because when you switch quarterbacks, the opposing team
has no clue. Yeah,
they don't know what's going to happen. Now you've got a game, film to look at.
It's tough.
Dallas can make some adjustments. I'm going to bring one other point out. You mentioned about Oakland did upset Philadelphia earlier in the year at home. Again, it was a situation where Philadelphia was in a letdown spot coming in there. But one thing I will note, the following week after that upset to Philadelphia, they got cold-cocked to the Jets, 38-0 at home. So, is this going to be a team that's going to still be celebrating that big win
over Cincinnati? Or did they learn from that?
Did they learn from that? And now, because they're on a rare national TV game, does Oakland bring their A game? Which their A game might be most teams' C game.
Yeah. The truth is, I think the books, Marco, are going to be pretty balanced on this game. Dallas being a marquee team, they're always going to have their fans that are going to lay whatever number. Dallas is the best. It doesn't matter. But when you get up near that 2-touchdown range in the NFL, you have a lot of bettors that are willing to take the dog, especially a dog like Oakland, who is, coming off a big win like that. Right. So I really think this game's going to fall nicely for the books. I think they're going to get balanced side, and they're probably going to get a balanced total as well. I mean, you could look at a low-scoring matchup, but 40 isn't that high of a number, so I could see guys going over as well. I really don't think they're going to get one-sided on this game either way.
Well, and I think you'll agree with this, and I don't have the numbers in front of me to back it, but one of the biggest myths with, the so-called square players is because the stuff's on TV, it's Thanksgiving. Right. There's that built-in myth that Dallas and Detroit on Thanksgiving is the way to go, and it's not. It's really been like every other line, point spread proposition. It comes out to be about 50%.
I agree.
If you go back over the years and look at it, but nonetheless, it's Thanksgiving. We're going to be stuffed. We're going to be laying on the couch.
I can't wait.
Asking the little lady to bring us a drink.
I'll be on this game for sure. I'll probably be on all of them, to be honest with you. Yeah, I mean, at least have an opinion on all of them. If not, make an official play, tie in some parlay, because it's enjoyable, man. And I think honestly, you have a big edge this week. This is like not bowl season, but pretty close, where the bookmakers, odds makers know the public gets more involved. Like, you get more recreational players, guys that don't bet every week. They're with their buddies, and they throw me in with your bookie. Get me 100 on them with your bookie too.
Yeah.
And they have to factor that in more. So if you're a little sharper, I think you could find a little line value on these marquee primetime televised games.
Absolutely. Well, we got to wrap up this first segment. That's how we see this Oakland-Dallas game on Thursday. Neither one of us have an official pick on the game on it.
I'll tell you the truth. I have some leans. I have some leans, kind of, but not even enough to give it out, because come tomorrow it might be totally opposite. So.
Right. But nonetheless, check things out at pregamepros.com on Thursday and find out what's happening for Thursday. This is our first segment. We're going to have 6 more segments for you here on this week's podcast. We'll look at college and pro action. Be sure to check us out on pregame.tv.